Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us today. My name is Tyler Shapiro. I am a product marketing manager here at Starburst, and I'm thrilled to have you all today for our discussion around revolutionizing the customer journey within the retail and consumer packaged goods industry. We have some amazing speakers joining us today. One of my close colleagues here at Starburst named Catherine McAfee, and a guest speaker from a close partner of ours, Ken and Carta, named Nick White, who will both dive deeper a bit into what digital transformations look like within the retail and CPG space. I'm thrilled to have them, and we are very excited to have you all. Just a few housekeeping items before we dive in today. This is a semi-live webinar. The on-demand link will be emailed to you within 72 hours, so keep an eye on your emails. Please ask your questions using the chat function within today's discussion. We have a team on standby that will respond to those right after today's discussion. And last but not least, to continue your learning, visit our retail and CPG industry homepage that is live today on our Starburst website. So again, my name is Tyler Shapiro. I'm thrilled to have you all here today, and we are going to do a deep dive into what it looks like to leverage Starburst and a digital transformation mindset within the retail and CPG industry today. And I am joined by some lovely folks today. First, we have Catherine McAfee, who is an enterprise client executive at Starburst, and Nick White, the head of data strategy at Kin & Carta, a close partner of Starburst who helps organizations at large across all industries with their global digital transformation journeys. So just to level set before we dive in, so we get a little bit more of the meat and potatoes structure of today's discussion, we're going to start with Catherine. Catherine is going to give us an overview, really getting back to the basics before we jump forward and what it looks like to not only digitally transform, but the correct and proper mindsets and culture that come with that journey. After that, I will do a dive into Starburst, how we are assisting the retail and CPG industry at large, what our data lake analytics platform is doing within that space. And last but not least, we will then jump to Nick White from Kin & Carta, who's going to talk us through his own personal experience within the retail and CPG industry in a previous life, in addition to now working at Kin & Carta, helping organizations at large revolutionize their own journey. Catherine, I will pass the mic to you.
Thanks so much, Tyler. I appreciate it. Thanks for the intro. So I just want to anchor the part that I'm going to play in this discussion on a quote from Albert Einstein that we cannot solve problems at the same level of thinking that we were when we created those problems. So much of what we need to do is to reframe the problem and to think about novel approaches to sort of classic data access, data discovery conundrums. So let's advance and we'll discuss how we need to really revisit the basics with a new and practical lens. So for the first part, data architecture. I talk to so many customers every day who have such diverse, complex datascapes. They might be moving to the cloud for the first time, in the cloud, and starting to think about becoming multi-cloud. There's normally decades of data that's on-prem in lots of different formats. And the real challenge to their organization is they have ever-growing, exponentially increasing volumes of data in a vast variety of sources, but they have to go faster. You have to have that data become valuable by being actionable. So accessing that data in a complex architecture is challenging, but we need to be able to adopt solutions that can embrace that complexity and really allow you to make meaning of that data, given the fact that it will probably always live in a hybrid and disparate state. When we think about data transformation, I talk to so many customers with data transformation charters and initiatives in mind, and it means something different to every organization. But ultimately, what data transformation means to my customers is trying to get away from that project by project delivery to start to think about more of a product. How can you deliver better go-to-market strategies, really move the needle from a business innovation perspective with how you're utilizing your data? And a lot of times that means trying to think about optimizing engineering and architects' time. If you're constantly building and maintaining pipelines to move data around so that it can be actionable, that's a huge toil on your resources, right? That's going to eat away into the transformation and innovation that your teams could actually be spending that effort towards if they're in this loophole of constantly having to build administrative flows to support the business. And that ultimately leads to overwhelming your resources, right? I talk to so many customers talking about their IT bottlenecks and what could they do if they could take some of the time their team spent building data pipelines to accelerate access and actually invested that in more business innovative transformative initiatives. So really trying to think about shifting that balance of time and focus into revenue generating efforts for your organization. And the name of the game is supporting your data consumers. So whether that's BI teams, app teams, AI initiatives, most of the conversations I'm in, the goal of the data transformations in the first place is to simplify and accelerate data consumption. And what that really means is taking all of the data consumers you have in your organization and reimagining what would the world look like if you could have all of them able to self-serve, do their own data discovery with the right security and governance, role-based access in place, but enable that self-service so that the bottlenecks are no longer holding back growth and innovation in the business. And you're really able to kind of harness the full brain power of your team. So if we advance, then the thought is, how can we start to design for the future and also to give ourselves the forgiveness of flexibility and agility to create a 1, 3, 5 year data strategy so that you have that directional alignment, but be able to make adjustments along the way, small pivots. And so what we really see is that leveraging a couple of these key tenets that you see here on the slide is going to enable that flexibility and that agility. We would like to call it optionality. So the first is data federation. This is absolutely critical. Unless you believe that you can build a healthy, flexible monolith of data, your data is always going to live in more than one place. So how can we make your data behave like it all lives in one place without the effort to get there? That would be allowing data federation. So the ability to query data where it lives, knowing that it's always in a state of flux and evolution, to be able to have your data seamlessly accessible while it might end up existing in a pretty disparate state. We also see a major move in the conversation towards data lake analytics, leveraging the capabilities of a data lake in your strategy. Data lakes are fantastic. They're extremely scalable. They're very affordable. And they end up being a great place for you to think about parking some of your data along the way as you evolve your vision. So being able to leverage a data lake or data lakes and leverage that federation to query across data lakes as well as other data sources can be a really powerful way for you to remain agile as you scale and grow. And then, like I said, back to those data consumers, it's all about accelerating and simplifying consumption. So, data as a product is a really popular way for organizations to start to think about commoditizing data with the same role based access control, the same persona based security and governance, but helping your teams move even faster in being able to grab and go the data that they need to really move the needle. I'll turn it over to you, Tyler.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Catherine. That was very insightful. So, whether intentional or not, nearly every business that we engage with, we find data silos are an ever present problem across data architectures. The data you might need to access is there, but it's spread across your entire organization. Maybe not the easiest to access, join, merge, you know the game. And that value that you want to extract from it is limited by your ability to organize that data. It's not really just us saying this either. A recent BCG report surveyed around 300 data leaders, and we found that 50% of respondents said architectural complexity is a significant pain point within their organization. So, as a result, many of these companies find themselves at a tipping point, at a risk of drowning in a deluge of data, overburdened with complexity and costs, difficulty managing and scaling, and more. So, how exactly did we get here? So, to be honest, data silos have been a challenge from the beginning since data was incepted. They continue to be a challenge despite our best efforts to create a single source of truth. So, let's talk about what that single source of truth problem looks like and how this continues to happen in a cyclic fashion. Naturally, as new and different types of data are introduced within an organization, you end up with a growing patchwork amount of disparate technologies and systems. And these are what we call data silos, and they're inherently difficult to maintain, access, scale, etc., which leads to slow time to insight for business users downstream. Traditional data lakes and data warehouses attempted to address this problem by requiring all data to be landed within their proprietary systems, which essentially forces you to access everything through there. But most of these systems are actually monolithic in their architectures and are built on a closed ecosystem. So they are difficult to scale as your organization changes, needs to grow, evolve with market changes, and so forth. So over time, as you introduce new types of data, new use cases, and new applications, systems, technologies, you're obviously growing volumes of data along that journey. And the monolithic natures of these systems force you to layer on new tech and data sources to adapt to your needs. We see this in retail and CPG all the time. As organizations introduce new data types such as customer demographics, purchase histories, social media sentiment, sensor and IoT data, growing pools of third-party data as those continue to have larger impact on customer journeys, organizations encounter the need for more flexible and scalable solutions. Again, these monolithic systems often struggle to handle that diverse pool of data sources and the increasing volumes of data generated across these customer touchpoints. Even further, as we all know, e-commerce has boomed over the last 5, 10, 15 years. We see this within mobile devices, social media, marketplaces opening across the board within retail and CPG. So these organizations now strive to gain insights into that customer behavior to further personalize marketing campaigns, optimize inventory management, and of course, enhance the overall customer experience. Meeting these demands requires leveraging diverse data sources and advanced analytics tools that can handle the complexity and the scale involved within that work stream. Now, obviously, all of this only leads to more disparate data and more disparate systems as we grow the data pools that we can dip into. So, where do we go from here as this potential issue will continue to arise as we scale? The truth is that there are a lot of challenges with this issue. As we are scaling and we're rethinking our data strategies and we're growing the data pools that we can reach into, there's always going to be challenges that are at the forefront of this journey. So whether that's quality, whether that's relevance, of course, duplication of effort as we scale our systems and teams and strategies internally. Sometimes it's hard to have eyes on who has hands on that equation or who has hands on that project. We don't want to duplicate effort. We want to make sure that everyone is under the same strategy and access point when it comes to data at large. Most importantly, within this space, as we see a lot of laws popping up within the EU with respect to GDPR and the CCPA Act that was passed in California, all of this being related to customer privacy, what it looks like when organizations handle data, what it looks like when organizations store, migrate, move that data. Customers care a lot more than they used to about how data is being handled, how it's being processed. And legislation is now requiring organizations to be a lot more transparent about what those processes are when handling customer data. So these new requirements and these constantly changing and evolving demands, both from legislators, customers, and everyone in on the customer journey conversation, is going to require organizations to be agile and on their feet, ready to make changes both on the technological side and on the cultural side to make sure that they are up with the times to remain relevant and trusted within the eyes of a retail CPG customer. So all of these to be said, these may be issues, but they also are opportunities. These are opportunities for customers and organizations to get smart and keep with the times to remain competitive, technologically innovate, and kick off their digital transformation journey to really, in the end of the day, focus on that customer journey and everything that makes it up. So let's tie that all together. Here at Starburst, we believe that the modern data lake or lakehouse architecture actually is the way to solve the problems I just discussed. So what exactly do we mean by a modern data lake? There's a couple components. You'll hear me say the word four a lot today, the number four. If you want to think core four, magic number four, a lot of components that are grouped into fours within today's discussion. First, the modern data lake has to be built on commodity storage and compute, which means that you can scale up and down in a cost-effective way that aligns within budgets and structure within your organization. It has to be built on open file formats and open table formats, which means that your data is portable and stays yours. This is an extremely critical aspect as privacy laws become more stringent against organizations on how they collect, process, and store consumer data, just as we discussed on the prior slide. Of course, we need a high performance and scalable query engine to query all of that data. And finally, we need to be able to access all of the data that is not in the lake. So again, we are here to access data within your lake, in and around your lake, and make sure that you have a streamlined uh, point of access and streamlined system to really scale your analytics strategy. So with this type of architecture, we believe that many of those data silo challenges can be solved. This modern data lake will provide a single point of access and governance for your end users, advanced warehouse-like capabilities directly on data in the lake, an architecture that is vendor agnostic, so we can meet you where you are today and where you're going to be tomorrow, and a system that is scalable and cost effective. You can also see here that we believe Trino is the best query engine that sits at the center of this modern data lake. So let's take a moment to dive a little bit deeper into Trino. So Starburst is built on a powerful open source technology called Trino, which has been deployed at scale at some of the largest internet companies in the world. So on prior slides, we spoke to open nature, portability, ease of access, data ownership being placed in the hands of domain experts. All of those concepts are at the forefront of Starburst strategy. What I want you all to take a minute to think about, and this is a little activity, so if you could use the chat function, I would love to see some of your responses. Look at some of the logos in front of you. We have Netflix, we have LinkedIn, we have Pinterest, Lyft, and Facebook, now known as Meta. These are all massive internet and data driven companies that rely on Trino today. I want you all to think about what is unique about the logos above. They do play across different industries, but I really want folks to understand what these 5 logos might have that not every company does have access to. I'll give it about 10 to 15 seconds for you all to use the chat. So, what is unique about these logos is that many of these organizations have an army of dedicated resources that allow them to maintain and scale Trino. Maintenance with Trino is fully manual. There's no support for auto scaling. So, really need to get hands in and be watching that system around the clock. For security, no built in integrations. You must build those out on your own. That goes for RBAC and ABAC, which are role based access control and attribute based access control. And when it comes to support, which is obviously one of the most quintessential and important parts of any enterprise grade system that is scaling out an analytics strategy, support here with Trino is fully reliant on community engagement and the responsiveness of the open source community. So for support in times of failure or there's critical downtime, relying on the open source community, we really need to think about what it looks like to scale a system and have something be up and ready and with support that can help you be there to plug in to make sure that things do not go awry. So to make all of this a possibility for all data-driven organizations out there today, Starburst has simplified this and made it the easiest way to scale your data lake and analytics strategy, create and ultimately downstream create hyper-connected data-fueled experiences for your customers, generating much faster time to insight, lowering that total cost of ownership for your organization, and a future-proof architecture that will help you today, tomorrow, and wherever your organization continues to grow and evolve. So again, here at Starburst, we believe that the modern data lake will become the center of gravity for many organizations, and that we will provide the data lake analytics platform to help you activate the data in and around your lake. Of course, we know it's never that simple. We just talked about how data silos are everywhere, and Starburst is here to help you with that. Our customers typically have their data center of gravity in a data lake, but truthfully depend on many other data sources outside the lake, which may evolve over time as needs change. For instance, there are modern applications that often require a combination of data technologies that include historical data on the lake, streaming and event data, log data, application data, and more. There will always be new types of data, as we've discussed, and data sources that are created by different business needs, business users, to the development of new technologies and applications. So Starburst not only helps you access the data within the lake, but helps you access data wherever it lives. We can help you move data into the lake and, of course, even transform the data within your lake for better sharing and consumption downstream. Now, this diagram may be highly simplified, but it tells a story that we're here to help you be that single point of access to data no matter where it resides. But let's double click in and see what's actually happening inside the white box in front of you that does represent Starburst Data Lake Analytics platform. So here's that magic number 4 coming back into today's discussion. First and foremost, we have our data access layer. This is for you to connect to all your data sources in and around your lake. This also includes our unique Stargate connectivity feature, which allows customers to connect sources across regions, across clouds, and between cloud and on-prem environments. Next, security and governance layer, which includes all the capabilities needed to manage access, privacy, encryption, as well as things like monitoring and logging. As we discussed, the query engine, which of course is built on open source Trino, but we've added significant proprietary features here, including Starburst Warp Speed, which allows you to get query response time similar to an optimized data warehouse. Also, as a part of this engine, we have fault tolerant execution, which means long running queries and complex transformation jobs will not fail due to out of memory limitations. And finally, we have the modeling and semantic layer, which includes all of the features to help you build, organize, and share data models with standard SQL. And of course, the journey does not stop there. We work with an extensive network of partners to bring you the most popular third-party integrations, should you have a preference for a specific vendor that you already have in place or that you're currently evaluating. Some examples would include all major BI vendors such as Tableau, Looker, Power BI, transformation tools like dbt, and a number of security and governance providers like Immuta, Calibra, and Elation. Ultimately, our goal here is to help you scale your analytics strategy in the easiest and most efficient way possible. Our goal, again, magic number 4, is to provide customers with 4 simple benefits. First, simplicity. This really means just helping you all take the fastest path from data to insight, making things easy to deploy, easy to manage, use, scale, and more. We want to help you future-proof your architecture to ensure that access is an easy experience and that governance is an easy thing to manage and set up, whether that's for your data today, for your data tomorrow, or for your data in 5 to 10 years. Scalability. Starburst was born on a technology developed at one of the largest internet companies in the world, and we want to make that efficient and easy to run at any scale that you need. And last but not least, of the 4, optionality. We've said this before, I've said it before in today's session, but in order to break the cycle of data silos and really tackle the problem that we see happening time and time again, you need your data to be your data. We will work with any data in any storage, so you never have to worry about locking yourself into a proprietary data ecosystem. And what these translate into for your business partners are a few things. You have better and faster revenue influencing decisions. You can use all of the relevant data to improve customer experiences, create new revenue streams, and increase returns on data assets while completing your digital transformations. There's significant risk reduction. You can deliver real-time risk analyses, anonymize or de-identify user data where necessary. Again, speaking to customer privacy laws and data protection practices. Effectively combat fraudulent purchases, security and real-time incident management, and of course, monitoring along the way to meet regulatory reporting requirements with greater ease and increased accuracy. And third, we have resource optimization. Increased productivity, faster time to insight, and lower TCO yields positive business outcomes for your organization at large. So what you all may not know today is that Starburst is just over 5.5 years old, but we're helping organizations of all sizes, from the largest of enterprises to digitally native, recently minted businesses, realize the values that we've discussed in today's session. So focusing specifically on retail and consumer packaged goods, Starburst helps these companies put data at the center of their operations. With a connected data fabric and lightning fast analytics across all relevant data, retailers and CPG organizations can gain real-time insights into that consumer behavior, their ever-changing preferences, and market trends to optimize their internal operations, enhance those downstream customer experiences, and of course, improve bottom line performance. With Starburst, organizations like the ones in front of you can access faster and more accurate insights from data while minimizing analytics investment costs, avoid vendor lock-in, and maintain strict data governance and security standards that are existing within the industry today. So what does this mean, in actual grounded use cases within the retail and CPG industry? So, as we know, the pressure to modernize within the retail CPG space began with Amazon about 20 years ago. And it has just continued to erupt and disrupt over all the years of evolution within this space. We've seen with the COVID-19 pandemic, which we are now just over 3 years after that's inception. What we're really seeing due to that is, well, when we could no longer have in-person experiences, organizations within this industry had to basically overnight digitally transform to allow their customers to continue to access in an easy fashion their products, services, goods, and more. And so that second wave of required innovation was, of course, not something that we saw happening. But now we are living on the opposite side of the introduction of that COVID-19 pandemic, which has placed new pressures on the retail industry, 3 years ago, but continue to place on them today. So that pressure to modernize tech stacks and improve the customer journey is continuing to be higher than ever before. It's driven by factors that we've discussed as far on the tech side, but of course, these organizations face challenges when it comes to migrating data and complying with growing data regulations. But what Starburst does here is with our data lake analytics platform is we help your organization bridge the gap along that modernization journey, and of course, continue to support you long after. We can hear we can be here to help you revolutionize that customer first data strategy, allowing you to really reach deep into all pools of data, whether that's first party data, third party data, grabbing onto everything that you can along that customer touch point to make sure that you have a holistic painted picture to fuel a customer 360 strategy. And then, of course, make better informed decisions for your customers downstream. We can improve operational efficiencies. We saw within the pandemic was another large surge of inefficiencies within internal operations and supply chains locally and globally. So being able to have the fastest time to access the data when things go awry, when shipments are not on time, when there are gaps or issues within certain supply chains, it was actually found that one of the most negatively impactful touch points within a customer journey is when a package is not delivered on time that was promised at a specific time point. So, really making sure that organizations have readily access, rapid access to that data to make sure that there are no gaps within that supply chain journey from the customer first learning about a product to the customer purchasing and having that product delivered. Last but not least, maximizing your marketing investments. We all know that in this digital world today, especially with a hybrid space like retail CPG offering in person and online experiences, there are so many tools to leverage to help you revolutionize your internal journey that impacts the downstream customer journey. We're providing you with a data lake analytics platform that helps you gain value and really increase that ROI on those investments, preventing any vendor lock-in, as we said, really wanting you to take advantage of what you have and just scale that as you continue to grow and evolve and evaluate new tech. So let's look at a specific customer example where we saw similar issues that were happening due to market demands and pandemic related stressors, and how they were able to revolutionize their own internal infrastructure to provide better customer experiences and internal operations at large. So Zalando is a leading manufacturer of clothing within the EU. And they run analytics, data science, and machine learning on siloed data warehouse platforms. This process fuels business critical work streams such as recommendation engines that really became very costly and unstable when trying to scale within their business. So Zalando looked into and evaluated Starburst for users to rapidly discover, access, and analyze data across all of these isolated warehouse platforms. And ultimately, what that allowed them to do was not only access and join data that was previously, impossible to join, but it allowed their end users or business users to continue to use their BI tool of choice. Again, working with a mixed bag of business intelligence tools. So we're driving faster time to insight, smarter business decisions, and leading with the flexibility to allow those end users to continue using the tools that they're comfortable in. I would be remiss not to mention that they also save 50% of their TCO via auto scaling functionalities. Starburst being able to readily respond to uptimes and downtimes within demand of users pinging the system. Improve platform and stability and performance to actually manage and maintain these recommendation engines that Zalando is needing to scale. And most importantly, that I mentioned briefly, is now having access and a way to manage, discover, and join data sources that were previously not able to be joined together through a tool like Starburst. Let's take another look at a different customer, a massive food and beverage giant that went global with Starburst to help revolutionize their global brand strategy. So, when this world leading food and beverage giant scaled their multiple brands that generated more than $1 billion each in an estimated annual retail sales, they recognized the need to upgrade their data storage and analytics capabilities. So, this company actually turned to Starburst and Microsoft. This global conglomerate's diverse portfolio of brands resulted in massive quantities of data siloed in different proprietary systems. And these brands um, previously were unable to actually connect from a data perspective. So they were going about their isolated strategies and journeys for downstream analytics. But Starburst opened the gates to that conversation. And now they're able to actually have, that cross-function data strategy at large globally and continue to iterate, understand markets at large, and be able to work together to understand the market, their shifting customer demands, and build, future next gen go to market strategies as an aligned front, both from a data driven perspective and from a understanding the market perspective as well. So Starburst and Microsoft have empowered this global food and beverage leader with a more efficient and scalable architecture for the future. The inexpensive, resilient, and highly scalable storage of Microsoft ADLS, along with the security enhancements and analytics anywhere capabilities of Starburst Enterprise, are helping to move the company closer to its goal of becoming the global leader in convenient foods and beverages. Now, see how Starburst sits at the middle of this ecosystem and is able to connect every part of this global consumer packaged goods conglomerate. Their enterprise data strategy. Starburst is the center of gravity to connect all systems. And as mentioned before, the Starburst orbit is comprised of a rich and growing ecosystem of partners across every layer. Whether these are infrastructure providers, which you can see all the way at the bottom of the screen, including the major three, AWS, GCP, and Azure, all the way up to consulting partners like Kin and Carta, who we have joining us today. Shortly, we will be diving into a chat with Nick. These networks continue to grow as organizations find value in us at Starburst as a center of gravity for enterprise analytics that is truly built on flexibility and scale. So now that we've gotten a good look into what the Starburst Data Lake Analytics platform is and how we are helping retailers at large today, I would love to transition and have a discussion with Nick White, again, head of data strategy at Kin & Carta. He has over 20 years of experience driving business outcomes with data and technology in a variety of industries, has previous experience working himself within the retail CPG market, and has a true passion for data when it comes to driving growth, technological innovations, digital transformations, and is here to shed some light on his journey and the journey ahead. Nick, I will pass the mic to you so you can introduce yourself a bit further.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nick White. I lead our data strategy in the Americas for Kin and Carta. I've been in data and analytics for about 25 years, most recently Nike before Kin and Carta. So I've spent a lot of time in this space.
And with that, let's get started. So, Nick, I would love to hear a bit of your thoughts on some of the challenges that you're seeing today within the retail and CPG industry.
Yeah, of course. I think number one, adapting to changing customer expectations. There's a lot of generations out there. They all want to do things differently, and it's really hard to come together with a cohesive strategy. Secondly, customer data is fragmented across so many channels, and it's harder than ever to actually understand your customers. And then finally, how do you maintain consistent experiences across offline and online channels? It's becoming a thing that you truly have to prioritize.
No, I love that answer. And what's funny, I'm speaking from personal experiences, the more I tend to lean into online shopping, obviously very much enjoy the convenience, but I still find myself I really need to be in person for a lot of the shopping experience, just for some products that I need to have a almost like a trial with or a test with firsthand. So having a connected experience as myself, as a shopper, it's really important to have a connected hybrid experience, regardless of where I choose to shop or investigate or just learn about products that a certain company is offering. Nick, I'm curious to understand your thoughts on how the rise of e commerce and social commerce has impacted organizations today that you work with or that you have worked with in a past life. Just want to know how you've seen that evolve within the retail and CPG space.
Yeah, it's truly about driving the need for digital transformation across the entire organization. On top of that, you have to emphasize omni-channel strategies. You cannot have blinders on. Things are happening at a rapid pace, and you're kind of just in the middle of it, and you're trying to make sense of what's happening. And the pandemic truly accelerated the need to get way better at that quicker.
So, Nick, I'm going to go off script a bit here, not to put you on the spot, but you brought up an interesting point on omni-channel experiences and strategies. Um, Whether that's on the marketing front for certain retail strategies, or that's just providing omni-channel experiences for customers across devices, channels, you name it. I just want to know your thoughts a bit on what it looks like to drive those successful omni-channel experiences, and if you have any personal stories there.
It's about knowing your customer and pulling all of that data together to truly understand how they want to shop, where they want to shop, how they want to pick up. And the best companies that do this try to make that as seamless as possible. Just like Starburst is able to put different, data pieces together seamlessly, you have to almost do that for your customers because you never know how they want to shop or how they want to pick up or purchase.
That was a great answer. I will say, as much as I want to be a fully digital shopper, it's a goal of mine. There are just certain things I will only buy in person, especially things like shoes. Shoes never seem to fit me the way that I want them to when I buy them online. And I know that on the aspect of becoming more data driven, a lot of that mindset and in actuality falls within the ability to be flexible, to be agile, and analyze the market at large, and really have a great understanding of any of those market shifts or customer expectation shifts along the way. Nick, I know you and I had a lovely conversation a couple weeks ago where you had a great analogy of how the lines between retail and CPG just continue to blur, and how those two conglomerates within the industry used to be pretty different in how they operated. Love to hear a bit more if you have any stories or anecdotes around customers that really have successfully navigated that blurred line between these industries or sub industries, and how one may have been a bit more on the innovative front.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to break it down into two pieces, right? Creating an intelligent enterprise that is super duper data driven and optimizing things. On the other side or the front stage, there's creating intelligent experiences, which is how do you embed, data into your customer touch points. So, like I mentioned before and during the pandemic, I spent some time at a global sports giant out of Portland, Oregon, and, what I would say is they were already looking ahead and they already saw that, hey, we have partner retailers, we have our own stores, we have our own digital presence. And they were already investing in that. And when they went into the pandemic, although it wasn't perfect, it was enough to help them come out kind of on top and like actually really thrive in an area where this blurred line of, hey, I buy online and I pick up at a store or I get shipped from a store instead of warehouse, they were already thinking that way. So I think the more you can put yourself in the head of a customer and blend the backstage of intelligent enterprises and the front stage of intelligent experiences, you really can drive some tremendous results, which they did.
No, it's an awesome story, Nick. I appreciate you sharing that. And just knowing that you have and continue to work across a number of retail and CPG organizations, how have you seen Starburst have an impact within these digital transformations? Whether it's directly within your experience or your partnership with organizations today, would love to hear more about that.
We see some challenges across the board with everyone, and I think having a scalable and efficient data platform such as Starburst helps that. Like the idea is we need to drive the democratization of data alongside the decentralization of data ownership, right? Users are closer and closer to the data. That is the biggest problem. And if Starburst can help bring people closer to the data, then that is the goal. And it does because it has a very pragmatic way of allowing people to access and get insights faster.
Diving deeper into these digital transformations, and great to hear how Starburst is fueling them. What trends are you watching within the retail CPG industry for the future?
I mean, how can you ignore Chat GPT, Bard, Gen AI? I think since my dad has used Chat GPT and he just got rid of his flip phone last year, we have to think about this thing is coming and it's coming hard. and it's going to help tremendously. Generative AI and large language models are really just the beginning of AI becoming a big thing. But it's still going to harken back to even more pressure on getting solid data foundations and governance in place. Having that data as a product mentality. Make small bets, make the right bets, make iterative bets. And finally, we've touched on it a little bit, but the like data is not in a warehouse and it's not a technology. So people need to invest in having everybody in their organization be data literate and really upskill their data professionals and invest into that space as well. If you do all of that, I think you can ride the next wave.
That's exactly correct. And I really appreciate you, Nick, tying this all together here today. Again, Starburst really being here to help be that connected center of gravity for your enterprise data strategy at large, end to end. So we really do want to bring people closer to the data and make that access and downstream consumption uh, more streamlined, easier to understand, easier to find the right data, make sure that data is trusted and no longer relying on a duplicated single source of truth, but relying on a single point of access for all users. And as we wrap up today's fireside chat, I of course want to thank you so much, Nick, and of course thank you, Catherine, and all of you who joined the room today. We'll leave on one more question. We know that the retail and CPG industry is ever evolving. It seems like daily there are new strategies, stressors, everything in between that are impacting the market. So, Nick, I'd love for you to just leave today with any advice that you have for organizations within this space.
Yeah, of course. Focus on that seamless customer experience. It's all about the customer and how well you can serve them, and that goes for any industry, but especially in retail and CPG. And finally, I think you have to think about digital innovation and prioritize it. And you do it smartly. There is a hype cycle where things have inflated expectations, and there's a trough of despair, and then there's a plateau of productivity. How do you get from heightened expectations that are too high to something practical? And that just means prioritizing business outcomes and using the right tool in an iterative manner to innovate.
And with that, one more thank you to everyone. Again, audience members, I really appreciate all of your engagement today and for joining for today's discussion about revolutionizing the customer journey. Thank you again to Catherine and Nick for joining me, for all of your engagement and wonderful words within the discussion. If you did not catch it at the beginning of today's session, this recording will be in your inbox within the next 72 hours. So you can watch this on demand and share this across your organization. And of course, if there were any questions asked today within the session, you will have answers very shortly. Thank you again so much, and hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.